ho, ho! You're listening to the Important Cinema Club. And my name's Justin the Clue, and I'm here today with...
Will Sloan.
And...
Matthew Kumar.
And...
Emily Milling.
And we've had a few...
And me, Santa Claus.
Oh my god, Santa's here! We've had a few rum and eggnogs. We watched a few movies.
The fire is going. We've got our stockings up. The snow is falling outside, and we're waiting for the big man. Well, he just arrived.
Yes, I'm here. Me, Santa Claus.
Oh, Santa.
It sounds like Homer Simpson. Someone to do a Homer Simpson impersonation.
If someone was doing a Homer Simpson impersonation.
So this is going to be a very chaotic episode, kind of like a
Wow,
party.
Matthew, you're back. You just missed Santa Claus.
I missed Santa? Oh, no.
He probably wasn't...
I'm still here.
Oh my god.
I don't know why Will said that. That's very confusing.
So that was a great bit, but I think
Hey, come on, you do fucking accents all the time on this show.
That was an accent.
What accent was that exactly?
North
Santa
Pole.
East. Santa East.
Fat guy.
I can't even break in to say that this episode is going to be very chaotic.
It's the special Important Cinema Club Christmas special.
Crossover edition.
Yeah.
Because we have Mathew Kumar here from Loose Cannons, and we have the editor of FilmTrap.com, Emily Milling.
Because that means something.
Yeah, the editor of FilmTrap.com.
Come on.
Uh-huh.
So
SEO!
we all picked a movie, and we're going to talk about it, and each one is a Christmas movie. And we're going to start right from the get-go with the best of the bunch, and that is Jingle All The Way. Emily, why did you pick Jingle All The Way? Why is it important for you?
Okay, aside from the fact that you and I watch it every single year because it is our favorite Christmas movie together, I grew up watching this movie, did not realize how important it was to have our Arnold Schwarzenegger in my life, but now I understand how impactful he is to planet Earth, and I really only knew him as the dad in Jingle All The Way growing up.
Were you very aware of him as an action star?
Not at all.
How would this movie even make sense?
I don't think it did.
You had no questions about Arnold Schwarzenegger and his accent?
Like when I was a kid, one of the appeals of this movie was that it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that I was allowed to see, right?
See, that's interesting because when I was a kid, I never saw Jingle All The Way because I had seen all of his action films up to that point, and it just seemed, why is he in this lame Christmas movie with a stupid white kid and all?
First of all, Jingle All The Way is not lame. It is the greatest, the most amazing Christmas movie of all time, but also his performance. I mean, come on.
Yo, my number one customer.
I am not the pervert.
I mean,
let's all quote it now.
I agree. As an adult, I've come back to it, and I understand it is a masterpiece of Christmas cinema, basically.
Spirit?
Yeah.
It's the best Brian Levant film, I would say.
Really, the reason we come to Jingle All The Way, it's not just for the Schwarzenegger, it's for the Sinbad.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think that it's for the stylistic innovation that Brian Levant brings to the film.
Well, I think Brian Levant, as a stylist, Brian Levant's most impressive credit is The Flintstones. But,
That's
I
right.
watched that recently.
it's almost like a Michel Gondry movie now.
It's so fun.
So Jingle All The Way is, of course, the story of a workaholic suburban dad from New Jersey who can't make it to his son's belt ceremony.
Yeah.
It's getting
Which
yellow
for
about
some
it.
reason is like the day before Christmas. Come on,
Right.
get your priorities straight.
And so Arnold, to make it up to his son and to prove once and for all that he's a good dad, has to get the toy that his son wanted for Christmas, which is a Turbo Man doll, which is kind of like Tickle Me Elmo or something. That's like, it's the big toy of the season. But he waited too long. It's sold out all over town. So this film follows his odyssey, running around Manhattan, I believe.
Yeah.
No, Twin Cities, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Jingle All The Way, we talked about this on our Arnold Schwarzenegger episode that Matthew was already also on, is that it's that magical world where no one treats Arnold like a weird kind of other. The fact that he's like just a normal dad trying to do normal dad things.
And yet he is an Austrian bodybuilder. And there's this whole
press your way out of this one.
There's the whole subplot where Phil Hartman is the neighbor who wants to cuckold him.
Yeah, and also, and he's clearly fucking everyone else's wife in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but which makes no sense because he's Phil Hartman and Arnold Schwarzenegger is an Austrian bodybuilder.
Even bodybuilders aren't supposed to be good at sex.
You reckon their dicks are so small because of all the steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, Phil Hartman probably much better at it.
Yeah, okay, you know what? You're right.
Phil Hartman, probably the funniest thing in this movie. It's
fantastic.
And genuinely funny. Like, every line that comes out of his mouth.
Not Balthazar.
You're overlooking the Belushi.
Oh, that's right.
Mr. Jim Belushi.
The superior Belushi brother, who shows up as a Santa Claus in this movie that tries to trick Arnold Schwarzenegger with a cheap Turbo Man ripoff.
Yeah, a counterfeit Turbo Man. And of course it ends in the parade featuring a cameo by Gilbert Gottfried and Arnold Schwarzenegger in a jetpack Turbo Man costume flying all over.
I think you're
Sinbad.
confusing Gilbert Gottfried with the man who played Booger in Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, it's not Gilbert Gottfried?
No, it's not.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, sorry. I'd like to announce my resignation from the Important Cinema Club podcast.
Will slugs down another rum and eggnog. I've watched Jingle All The Way, like Emily said, with her almost year after year, and it's always funny. There's just something, like, special about it, and it all comes down pretty much to Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance. Mm-hmm. In the way that, like, he's trying to react like a normal person would. Like, this script, I'm sure, read very boring. And if it starred someone like Jim Belushi, we would have forgotten it long ago.
Well, I have a story about this movie. I saw it in a theater when I was 7 years old. And this was also the time that I first saw the Siskel and Ebert show, where they did their list of the 10 best movies of 1996.
Were you waiting for Jingle All The Way to show up?
Well, they gave it thumbs down. But I recall that I loved this show so much that I asked my dad to, like, film our own, like, Siskel and Ebert type thing where we did our top 5 movies of 1996, and this video exists somewhere where my top 5 movies included Jack with Robin Williams and
you love that scene where sex offender and Robin Williams fart into Tupperware containers.
Yeah, Bill Cosby, you mean?
Yes, that's right.
And The Phantom was on my list. First Kid.
The Phantom.
First Kid, but the number one movie was Jingle All The Way. And if you watch the video, my dad is being very diplomatic and like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. But my dad's number one movie was Fargo, and his number 2 movie was The English Patient.
Oh, no.
I mean, both of you had bad taste at that time, I guess.
Fargo? Come on.
The English Patient?
Yeah, it's not very good. My dad, middlebrow guy. And it's great to watch because you can see me getting more and more frustrated as it goes along that these are all movies that are rated R and that I can't see.
Maybe these would be on my top 5 list if I could see them.
Well, basically, yeah. So
we need like an 11-year anniversary screening, is what you're saying?
Try 20-year anniversry screening.
Yeah, math is not my forte.
Yeah.
No, it's sort of like the day the clown cried. You can only watch it 5 years after Will's dead. Which is why...
That's what Jerry Lewis wrote in his will.
What, your specific video that people get to watch? Or we could do a recap video.
He dies?
Or that I die.
No, when Jerry Lewis dies, they open the vault and there's like 2 videos in there. The day the clown cried and this video of you saying Jingle All The Way is the best film of that year.
Oh boy.
I mean, I think that we should do a retake and you do a top 5 of 1996 again. Shockingly, Will says Jingle All The Way, number 1 still.
Maybe.
Yeah, we don't know. So,
do you know the fan theory about
Yes.
Jingle All The Way?
I do, but I'd like you to share it.
Yeah.
There's the zine Kill You Last, which the writer Will Jones writes, and he's obsessed with like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he writes this theory, which is that Sinbad is a guy who his son died, and he has no one to actually get that toy for, but he loved Christmas and he wants to be still wrapped up in the situation, so he's just made it his purpose to like screw up things for Arnold Schwarzenegger so he can feel part of the Christmas spirit because he's really sad and alone. And when you watch this film with that mindset, all of Sinbad's insanity just feels very disturbing.
It's kind of like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, it's like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, yeah.
It always bothered me at the end that, like, Jake Lloyd gives him that Turbo Man doll. Sinbad is not giving that doll to his son. He's going to jail.
Yeah.
Probably
That's
for a
true.
long time.
Yeah, 'cause
Where is he going? I don't understand. I never understood that either.
Yeah.
And my other favorite thing in Jingle All The Way is the part where they kill a bunch of policemen.
When the bomb goes
The
off?
bomb goes off, and at that point you're like, whoa, a lot of policemen just died there. They show up later. You know they're not.
Well, no.
Duty, and they've got their hands in bandages, and then they get hit by a bus, and
Well, it cuts back to the police after the bomb went off, and like they all have like soot on their faces,
Singed hair.
and they look like the Roadrunner or the Coyote after he gets blown up, but they're still alive.
Yeah.
I mean, and Sinbad also in this film throws out a lot of 96 jokes that, like, only for the adults, pretty much.
Yeah, this was his star-making vehicle.
Sinbad is one of those actors that I believe after Jingle All the Way that I like kept an eye out for him in any other film. A little bit disappointed that, what was it, Major Payne? I assumed it was Sinbad.
That was David Wayans.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did go on to be in that Genie movie in an alternate reality, right? That everyone loves.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw it
Kazam.
on VHS shelves everywhere at the video store.
Yeah.
I never rented it.
Spoiler, it actually starred Shaq.
Yes.
There is no Sinbad.
But the actual Sinbad chronology is House Guest, and then First Kid, and then this one, and then I don't think any other. Oh, he's in Meteor Man.
Wait, so Sinbad was in 2 of your top 5 films?
Yeah.
For 1996?
Yeah, it was the year of Sinbad.
You were Sinbad crazy.
Yeah.
Will Sloan, Jim Carrey, and Sinbad. The
Yeah.
end.
So, like, if you do start to die with your Make-A-Wish that just, like, Sinbad shows up at your bedside, I bet he'd do it.
You know, I feel like I don't even need to do the Make-A-Wish thing to get Sinbad to visit me.
Sinbad, if you're listening.
I think offer him a bowl of soup and perhaps he'll...
Do you think, like, Sinbad at this point in his life is just doing that, like, Jingle All the Way shtick and nobody really knows who he is?
Sinbad was one of those guys who, like, in kind of like when Jay Leno was hosting The Tonight Show, he would have this stable of washed-up comedians that he was loyal to, that he would bring on, and Sinbad was one of those guys.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any of his stand-up?
No.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
Matthew?
Well, I
it's
mean,
good.
I've seen him standing up at the side of the road on the Los Angeles freeway holding a sign that says, I was in Jingle All the Way,
Yeah.
not Shazam.
Yeah. He's not cool with a podcast like us.
That's right.
You know, local cinemas will screen Jingle All the Way for $3 every year, so I'm sure he makes royalties off of that.
When we
Maybe not.
saw it, a screening of it, the children cheered when Turbo Man saved the sun at the end.
Not just children, you and me.
Yeah, we did. We heard them doing it and we're like, oh, okay, it's okay, we can do it too.
And we cheer every year. Come on.
I do love the end. Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife sees him in that Turbo Man outfit. She's like, oh, yeah, that's my husband. And you're like, he's a bodybuilder.
Yeah, she's
never
like,
knew
Because
you
she's like,
were
ooh,
so-
Howard,
yeah.
because his name is Howard.
That's right.
Which is
even, like-
his name is Arnold, which is also already kind of a silly name for a big, muscular guy, but like Howard seems even dumber for some reason.
But Phil Hartman even says you can't bench press your way out of this one, and she doesn't know that he's a bodybuilder already?
Yeah, maybe like in this universe, if Arnold like under the suit is all like flabby and stuff, like we never see his actual body.
My other favorite scene in the movie before we move on to the next movie is when he's trying to get that red ball, and this kid gets the red ball, and Arnold tries to like convince him to give the ball and be like, little boy, I will give you strudel.
Yeah.
He does not say that.
That is a hyper embellishment of that scene.
I knew this episode was going to get racist. I didn't realize I was going to be Will first.
Yeah, that's right.
Just why doesn't he just talk to the mom? Why is he crawling through the jungle gym? And,
He's got Turbo Man
lands
fever.
in the ball pit.
Did you guys want a Turbo Man after seeing the
Yeah,
film?
of
Will?
Of course, yeah.
I still do.
Was there Turbo Man action
I don't
figure?
think so.
I don't think so.
No.
What a wasted marketing opportunity.
Seriously.
Matthew, you wanted to bring another movie, a Christmas classic, and what is that?
Yeah, Scrooged. It's the best Christmas movie.
Will?
Not a big fan, honestly.
Yeah, obviously Will wouldn't be a fan of this movie.
I'm just like teeing it up like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, guys. So Scrooged, for me, is one of my favorite Christmas movies as well, mostly because I love Bill Murray, and the movie does that great thing, which is that it's like super sappy, it's funny as well, and then sad out of nowhere in a way that you're like, as a kid, you go, I can't believe that this person is dead, which they are. There's a homeless man played by Michael J. Parler that dies.
I mean, for me, this is like my Christmas movie, right? This is the one I watch basically every year. It's like a family. We all sit down and watch it. I mean, and it's like you've seen it so many times by this point, like 20 or 30 times or something by this point, that you know it inside out, so you barely need to pay attention to it. But for people who don't know it, it's a 80s retelling of A Christmas Carol, basically, where Bill Murray plays Frank Cross. He is a angry, unpleasant television executive who believes that no one should have any joy on Christmas, and he's making everyone work on Christmas Eve. And then obviously the previous executive comes to him and says he's going to be visited by 3 ghosts, who are played by the guy at the New York Dolls, who I forget his name.
Carol Kane.
Carol Kane.
Who Bill Murray supposedly hated working with because she would hit him for real.
For real, he gets kicked in the balls quite a lot. And then, I don't know, some sort of death character who's not really anybody. But it's one of those movies where it's like, it's an interesting movie, actually. The backstory is that it was directed by...
Richard Donner.
Richard Donner, and written by...
Mitch Glazer.
Mitch Glazer.
Who was his, like, writer on SNL.
Yeah, and so
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray and Mitch Glazer were super good pals, and Bill Murray actually hates this film, or famously doesn't like it, because he believes that Mitch Glazer's original perfect script was ruined by Richard Donner. But... if you would go on to watch, for example, Passion Play,
which Mitch Glazer directed,
written and directed by Mitch Glazer, and which has Bill Murray in it, you would be like, I don't think Mitch Glazer knows how to write or make a movie, so I'm pretty sure Richard Donner's the reason this movie's amazing. And it's very 80s, but it's just a perfect movie. You know, it has all the aspects you want.
I mean, perfect is subjective in the sense that this is a very shaggy movie, like it's too long. Bill Murray improvises a lot in it. He just lets him run and do a thing, especially in that like final moment where he's just rambling onward as the camera kind of tracks up into the air.
That was pretty funny.
I mean, it comes down to like, do you want to see another telling of A Christmas Carol?
Yeah, but it's a unique telling of A Christmas Carol, right? Like
a meta telling.
It has all of these, like the beginning where like they have like the what's it called, the Days the Reindeer Died.
Yeah, that's right.
With like Santa meeting
the Bionic Man, $6 million man.
$6 million man, and who's the guy in it?
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Hey, it's me, Bobcat Goldthwait.
And also, like, there's kind of like I think there's kind of like a cultural sort of moment to it as well, because like you see in the background, like kind of against, I think, the studio's wishes, there's posters for like against South African apartheid and stuff like that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, this is a movie that famously they shot it around December, and the studio refused to give time off for any of the cast and crew. So Richard Donner fired everybody. And then so they got the Christmas break off, and then he rehired them all back on so they could work again.
Wow, somebody was a real
Scrooge, yes.
Scrooge, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's completely meta, you know, like it's in line with the way that the movie works, you know?
Did you watch Scrooge a bunch, Emily?
I watched it one time at the end of a Christmas party where I had a lot to drink, so I remember the beginning. I remember Bill Murray, and that's all I remember.
Okay.
I've got a story that I read about Mitch Glazer and Bill Murray, where Mitch Glazer's wife is the lady from Roadhouse, and
Oh yeah, it's an AV Club interview.
Yeah, you know this, where like whenever Roadhouse is on TV, one of the Murray brothers will call up Mitch Glazer, and it doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. and they'll say, "Hey Mitch, Patrick Swayze's fucking your wife on TV."
Every time, supposedly.
Yeah.
Like, even in the middle of the night, one of the Murray brothers will call Mitch Glazer. And Mitch Glazer has become the chaperone for Bill Murray. Like, if you see him during interviews and stuff, Mitch Glazer is usually, like, standing off to the side just to make sure he doesn't run off or something like that.
I like to imagine that all the Murray Brothers get all the TV guides from all over the world, or they have, like, some sort
For
of...
Roadhouse?
For Roadhouse, so it doesn't matter where in the world. Hey... in Nambia, they're playing Roadhouse right now, so I guess your wife's getting fucked.
Yeah. So Scrooged, I find it very kind of heavy and leaden, and I don't find it very funny. And I think that Bill Murray is at his kind of shoutiest and sort of least charming. But what I will say is that I've seen part of this movie. I've seen all or part of this movie probably on TV every year.
Oh, it was a TBS station staple.
Like I may watch when I go home. I may watch it again because it's the kind of movie that I will just like flip back and forth between this and Muppet Christmas Carol and like Jack Frost on a lazy Christmas night.
I've never seen Michael Keaton's Jack Frost. Not even a minute of it.
Not very good. Worse than Scrooged, I would say. Definitely. So I don't know. It's a movie that I have like a lot of affection for, oddly enough. Like, it Scrooged feels like Christmas to me.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think particularly like it.
But I also think
like
that it's a performance that if you don't get on the Bill Murray train for that one, like it will, you're not going to go anywhere.
I find his character very unappealing.
Yeah, I do too. But it's a funny unappealing.
But I mean, he's kind of supposed to be unappealing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and when you get to his backstory, you see sort of why he's a huge jerk.
Yeah.
I gave you a pound of quality meat there for Christmas.
Niagara Falls. It's too good, man. It's too good.
Did you see it as a kid, though?
Yeah, multiple times.
So that's also like a nostalgia thing,
it's
that
like-
when you look back on it, it brings up warm memories of watching it as a child.
Well, I liked it more when I saw it as a kid because it felt more grown up, which I think this has been a recurring thing on the podcast. Any movie that I saw as a kid that felt grown up to me, without being actually too grown up, I liked.
And sometimes you've grown out of that, and that like layer of nostalgia has just washed away.
Well, I was kind of feeling it again as I was watching Scrooged this time. I was watching it thinking, oh yeah, like this New York setting and these kind of grungy angels and, you know, shouty Bill Murray. I remember why this felt sort of edgy
you want me to
me.
staple the antlers on this mouse?
Yeah.
Good stuff. So we watched 2 other movies, and we watched it all together while eating finger food and drinking, again, rum and eggnog and a little bit of wine. I think that we down a bottle of it.
You tell me, Will.
Yes, a bottle was downed.
And so we started with a Will Sloan classic, Ernest Save Christmas. So Emily,
A worse movie than Scrooged, I would say.
Oh my god.
by far.
Yes.
was Ernest big in your life, Emily?
So my mom used to rent Ernest movies for me when I was a kid, like all the time. I remember none of them, and I'm so glad I don't because he's horrifying. And all of the close-ups and this weird fisheye lens situation happening. Why am I so close to his mouth, and why is he so sweaty?
I think that the phenomenon of Ernest films being watched by children a lot may have something to do with the sheer economics of them probably being in the 99-cent family section.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember in the video store, the family section was always $1. So that's where we rented from. And that's where all the Ernest films and like fucking Jim Wynorski's Munchies was, or the Monster Squad. So Ernest, at me as well, like I watched so many of his movies, probably endlessly. Even though Ernest Scared Stupid scared the crap out of me.
I loved Ernest. A big part of my childhood. You know, all the Ernest movies I've seen 10 times each.
10 times.
Except for some of the later ones when I was growing up.
you
Do
only
you
visited-
remember them very well, or are they just like fuzzy, like they're all mushed together in your brain?
Some of them are mushed together. I would say the one I remember the best, oddly enough, is Ernest Rides Again. That one I can remember almost scene for scene.
Isn't that like one of his final pictures?
It's like a mid-period one. It was right after the Touchstone era ended.
So this
How
one,
many did he have?
Probably 8 or 9, I think. Yeah.
Matthew, did Ernest cross Scottish barriers?
Or is he specific to the American South?
Thing is that, like, I definitely saw Ernest Goes to Camp when I was very small, like not really old enough to remember anything about it. And I have memories of Ernest Goes to Jail and Scared Stupid, but I remember not liking Scared Stupid.
Too scary.
No, it's not scary. It's just
Too
like,
scary.
It's
Too
much-
stupid.
Well, it's one of those films where they put a lot of kids in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to be like, oh, I could be one of those kids, but kids don't like that. They
Yeah.
don't want to view themselves as a kid in this situation.
Wait, I have a question. So he wasn't stupid before, and he was scared stupid, right?
I think you're
Well,
overthinking
it depends on the Ernest chronology.
Specifically, also, the spoiler in the title that he saves Christmas, as opposed to Ernest attempts to save Christmas.
Does he? Does he not? You'll have to watch this movie to find out.
By the
Very long
way,
time.
speaking of Ernest chronology, well, I'll get to the plot of the movie in a minute, but there's a great scene when Santa, like, sees Ernest for the first time. He says, "Oh, I remember Ernest, a good boy, not that bright. He grew up with a boy named Vern?" And I love that because it expands the Ernest mythos, because it's like, now you know that, like, they weren't just grown-up neighbors together. Like, Ernest and Vern have been together since, like, the cradle.
I mean, that's one of the things that would never translated, right?
Because Vern was a character in the Ernest commercials.
adverts that we'd never have seen. So
Right.
Ernest was just a very simple man with a rubber face who sometimes helped children's and Santas and things like that. Like, it wasn't, like, I remember him, but he was never like again, 99-cent bin type of situation, you know?
I think that Ernest, the link that as a child, why me, Will, and Emily probably had a lot of affection for him, was the Jim Carrey link, that Ernest was like the Poverty Row Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just liked any comedian who made funny faces.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
thinking for you, Will, that it fits in that lineage of Jerry Lewis,
Yeah.
Ernest P. Worrell, Jim Carrey. You know, it's like one.
Stephen Chow.
One
That's the
beautiful
link.
Well, I
I
mean,
didn't like Stephen Chow that much.
I mean, putting value judgments aside, yes. I mean, they all appeal to me in the exact same way as a kid.
Wow, I can't wait until. No, he's already dead. I was gonna make a joke about how there's a vault where the Ernest Holocaust movie is being hidden.
So Ernest Saves Christmas. We open with Ernest as a taxi driver in Florida for some reason.
In a Three Stooges, like, how did they get this job scenario?
Yeah, he's a monstrous taxi driver, really a bad driver.
And we're introduced to him in like a low angle, wide angle.
Like, this is a body horror
fisheye
film.
lens.
Like so many horrifying close-ups of his ghastly face.
Sweaty face.
Oh, and like some of the early scenes, we see his shirt drenched in sweat.
So sweaty.
And I mean, Varney, you gotta hand it to him. Jim Varney is like the hardest working man in show
He
business.
throws
There's a
himself into that.
close-up of him pushing his lips together, and they could not get like more close. Like
then
if you
it's just
zoomed in and like just had the still of his lips, people would be like, "Well, this is a porno of some kind."
Because, like, his lips are, like, emitting this gross white ooze as well. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it's just like, what is this, like, secreting from his mouth? It's disgusting.
You don't want to know.
And
Oh
we
my
watched
God.
it in like Blu-ray quality, so we saw like every pore of Ernest's face.
Not just him, but the other actors.
Everybody
too,
is sweaty.
Was so, like, gross looking. It's like there was no makeup department on that movie.
And just visually speaking, the whole thing is shot in kind of like drab earth tones. It's not a very visually appealing film. And also, there's the whole subplot with, I haven't even said what the main plot is. But there's the subplot with like the fat guy and the skinny guy. And like their faces are so sweaty and horrible as
And
well.
there's no jokes either in those segments. The only jokes in this movie is Ernest making faces.
Okay, so the plot is, he's a horrible taxi driver, and when he's at the airport, and this is like December 23rd, okay? Santa Claus comes to Florida because
a shitty-looking Santa Claus.
shitty-looking Santa Claus, he's realized that his Santa powers are going away, and he needs to find a new Santa to pass the torch to in time for Christmas. So he finds this local children's entertainer who is... and this local children's entertainer is trying to choose between a career as a big movie star.
Starring in
a
weird
swamp
monster
thing.
movies.
Yeah, because apparently Florida has a booming, like, entertainment industry in this film.
He goes from nobody to starring in a film within hours.
Yeah, but Now, Santa isn't very good at promoting himself, so nobody believes he's really Santa, which gets at that problem of all Santa movies where, like, if Santa exists...
And he's delivering presents.
He exists in the diegesis of this world. He's a fact. Presents show up. How can people not believe in him? He's real.
Yeah, he is
Yeah,
real.
the minute you become an adult and realize that presents are arriving for your children, you'd be like, "Oh, I guess Santa's real. I should start believing in him."
Yeah, and it's not even a matter of belief anymore. It's like there's tangible proof.
I mean, to spoil this Ernest Borgnine lookalike / child entertainer in the picture that's supposed to take over Santa's mantle, only decides that, oh yes, I will be Santa after seeing the sleigh flying around the sky.
Well,
That's
the
right.
problem is that, much like the Santa Claus, he is forced to murder Santa to become Santa. And he just doesn't want to do it. And that sequence of Ernest watching him stab Santa repeatedly in the guts is
my
just so
God.
hard to watch.
Yeah, it's really real.
It's so real. Because I see those close-ups, the glistening blood.
His sweaty face.
Coming
to-
out of
yeah,
his body,
yeah.
everything's everywhere.
Ernest is like helping him, holding his hand.
Yeah. It's like Deliverance.
I mean, there's that guy that keeps squealing like a pig in the movie.
So this movie is, I guess, like 85 minutes long or so.
long.
Maybe 90. I don't know.
Wait, are you sure that it's not 4 hours?
Wait,
'Cause
well,
it felt like it.
Whoa, this chair fell.
Sorry, you okay, Emily? Almost
Yes.
falling out of your chair?
No, it's just totally fall back. You can restart if you want.
This is a film that also Ernest is treated like the shark in Jaws, in that there's like 20 minutes
Yeah.
of him. We follow this child entertainer just going about his job, and we're like, what? Why are we looking at
And
this
there
guy?
are a lot of like sad scenes of Santa trying to explain that he's Santa to people and nobody believing him. And then there's a whole other subplot with this like 16-year-old runaway who's sort of like, we're not sure if she's on Ernest's side, if she's helping Santa.
I mean, she's hanging out with him a lot.
Yeah, too much, I think, for a 16-year-old run. They have kind of a Robert De Niro, Jodie Foster taxi driver relationship.
Well, and she spends a lot of time stealing all of Santa's gifts, so you know she's only trying to get one thing from whoever she's around.
Yeah,
Toys.
Gifts.
Yeah.
No, she hates all the toys. She wants stereos and jewelry, like the good stuff.
Yeah, stuff you can pawn easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like 20 minutes of like really top tier Ernest material in this, and then
He plays
lot
a
of-
bunch of
Yeah.
characters.
It's like a Marx Brothers movie in that way. Like a lot of downtime between the funny stuff.
I mean, we get a lot of Ernest when he finally decides to help Santa out, and he jumps in his sleigh, and he goes off into the sky, like 30 minutes of him doing that.
He flies that sleigh for like 40 minutes.
And he actually flies around planet Earth, I want to say at least 50 times, because if we're cutting back and forth and you watch him go around 3 times per cut away, it's at least 50 times for the entire duration that you're watching this thing. And like, how is he not dead? I don't understand.
He's also in outer space as he does that.
But as we've established,
Ernest
can't die.
He can't. No one in Christmas movies can die. Let's be real.
Only an Ernest can kill another Ernest.
And just like in this film, where a handshake turns someone into Santa Claus, Ernest also shaking someone's hand will turn them into an Ernest.
Well, we figured out that's why Ernest can't be Santa Claus.
Yeah. That's right.
Because he's Ernest.
He's like the anti-Claus.
Yeah. It's like there are certain elemental like beings. The Easter Bunny, Santa, Ernest.
Yeah.
Easter Bunny, who is also a character in this film, as the kind of post-credit sequence.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like an Avengers type of thing. Like,
yeah.
They're gonna set up the whole like Avengers with like Santa Claus, Ernest, the Easter Bunny, and they have to protect the world from like some alien force. I
mean, Jim Carrey's probably there too, I guess.
But there's that subplot with the fat guy and the skinny guy, the Laurel and Hardy guys, basically, as they're getting a shipment at the airport of the reindeer, and it keeps cutting back to this subplot, but the subplot never develops. Because it's just a variation of the same joke where the reindeer are on the roof and the fat guy and skinny guy are like, whoa.
Oh, it's alien goats. It's
now
what
I'm
it
thinking
is.
I kind of want to see like, an Avengers film with all of history's greatest funny men. So you've got your Jim Carrey, your Jerry Lewis, your Ernest all in a squad together.
Well, I mean, at least one of those guys, 2 of those guys are dead.
CGI.
CGI, man.
Yeah, you're right.
We CG them.
Who could direct it? Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah.
So, Ernest Saves Christmas. Did everyone enjoy it?
No.
Not at all.
It actually made me hate Christmas.
So bad.
It also had that like grimy look to it, like they use
so
like short
gross.
ends or like expired stock. It looked like Bill Lustig was behind the camera or something like that.
Well, I'm gonna have to give it a thumbs up because Jim Varney worked really hard for us, and I think we owe it to him.
Yeah, you can tell because of how gross and sweaty he was.
At one point, he's like talking to a kid, and he has one bloodshot eye.
Why? No, but it wasn't just bloodshot. It was like his whole fucking like a thing in his eye exploded.
And I think it's
because
because
he was working so hard.
He was
So gross.
Ernesting so hard.
It had been a while since I had actually seen an Ernest movie all the way through. So it was great to be reunited with all of Ernest's characters, like the old lady that he pretends to be, or
the snake handler.
The snake handler. Or the part where he does a John Wayne voice for some reason.
He does that multiple times in the movie, because there's nothing the kids love more than a little bit of John Wayne.
Oh, but the actual key moment of this movie is... So when Ernest is in his taxi, he opens his glove compartment, and the camera lingers for about 3 seconds on this bumper sticker that he has in there that says, "Keep Christ in Christmas." So Ernest is, a mega guy.
And
you can like, well, you can think Christmas should be about Christ and not be like a Make America Great Again guy.
Okay, but let's be realistic.
if you have a Christ in Christmas
Well, also,
sticker,
Ernest is dead, so he's established. You saying he would become one of those?
Yeah, I think without a doubt.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Jim Varney's politics, but
Well, we're not talking about Jim Varney.
we're talking about Ernest the character.
Okay,
yeah.
so-
Well, Ernest is very gullible, right?
So
Yeah.
you're saying Slinky Dog would support Trump? I don't know, man.
No, I'm saying Ernest.
Ernest the character. You know what? Now that you say it, he's like very gullible, and he's like, this guy just wants to change things, right? Oh, I'll do a bunch of voices. I can see Jim Varney getting up on stage at like a Trump a rally, and he's like the old woman with the neck brace and everything like that.
Mr. Trump understands the political
actually-
correctness is keeping us down.
I actually can't see that.
Yeah.
It's kind of depressing.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, you ruined Ernest Saves Christmas for me, a movie that I loved up until that moment.
But we saved the best for last. I mean,
The best. God.
when we talk about Christmas, a lot of people our age think of a little film called Home Alone. We didn't watch that one. We watched the one that I watched so many times as a kid, and that's Home Alone 2, which, to our horror, when it started playing, we saw it was 120 minutes. Now, Home Alone 2 is bad.
So
Yes.
bad.
It's a pale imitation of the first movie. a film that even on its own is not that good.
And I just want to throw it out there. All these adults who love the Home Alone movies, I'm going to throw down. I want to say to those adults, what's wrong with you? These movies are wish fulfillment fantasies for children.
Yes.
Like, grow the fuck up.
Do you mean adults like our parents, or adults that are people
Our parents do not like the Home Alone
Okay,
movies.
no, but I think our parents like the Home Alone movies because they kept...
Not mine.
Not mine.
No, they kept us quiet for, however
yeah.
long, and we didn't...
I mean, they
annoy
probably love the Ernest films in that respect.
Yeah,
That-
you're right.
yeah,
They love
probably.
pacifiers.
And I believe your dad loves the English patient.
Yeah.
Shockingly, Home Alone 2 was his third favorite film of that year.
I mean, I will say that I would rather watch Home Alone 2 again than The English Patient because it's an hour shorter.
I don't know, it feels about as long as the English patient.
So, for people that don't know the plot of Home Alone 2, I don't know
He's
how.
lying there with a bunch of bandages on his face, and he explains the story of how he fell in love. I don't know. It's very confusing.
Kevin accidentally winds up in New York just before Giuliani has taken power, and oh baby, does he find out his value on the streets?
It's a hellscape.
Yeah.
With,
Imagine Bad Lieutenant.
Now, this is a film where Kevin McAllister, his incredibly irresponsible parents, they should really have a discussion with Child Protective Services, somehow lose him again.
His rich parents, by the way. What about
Yeah.
that house they had?
That is insane.
Oh my god.
Something that we just accepted, just no problem as kids.
Yeah.
That they live in this giant mansion.
This is the same of any movie from like the John Hughes assembly line. It's all these rich assholes in their giant houses.
Who can't be bothered to set an alarm to go off and then don't pay attention to their children. How would you not look behind you when you're boarding a plane?
Also, the child that they literally lost only the year before.
Yeah.
And who they treat like garbage. If your child the year before, you had forgotten him at home, he had fought for his life against like robbers, and then the next Christmas when he gets a little bit mouthy because he was bullied at the pageant that he
By
was
his
at,
older brother.
that
Forced to apologize.
as a parent you would go, well, maybe that'll happen to you again this year. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then the worst thing is that when they discover he's missing, you talk to the police, they start laughing about it because it's happened once already. And the policeman is like looking at them like, you don't understand. Your child could be taken by a man and being, tortured to death right now. And they're like, oh yeah, we realize. Sorry.
It got real
No,
there.
well,
Not real.
I think because of Home Alone 1, they assume that their kid, Kevin, would, hold his own and he would smash people with paint buckets.
Which he does. Right. Because this film, Kevin McAllister, in a true Austin Powers fashion, just pale recycled jokes from the first one. Like, guess what? He's gonna play with the VCR again.
Was pale a pun?
No.
Like a paint pail?
Yeah, sure, it was a fun.
Well, I mean, but unlike Austin Powers, it takes you an hour and a half for him to do any of those things.
There are a lot of scenes. I mean, again, these movies are wish fulfillment fantasies for children, I guess. So a lot of the movie is just Kevin McAllister as a little kid running around New York by himself, which I guess if you're a kid, that's a fun idea.
It's a terrifying idea if I was Kevin McAllister's age.
Yeah. And he goes to the
Duncan's toy chest or something like that.
Where
the ghost
FAO
of Duncan
Yeah.
is manning the cash register.
Yeah, he's got the hotel that he's at. What the fuck's it called again?
Plaza.
The Plaza, yes.
Which I think is actually the
I know,
Trump...
it's famous.
It's the Trump Plaza,
And
right,
in
or something?
speaking of Trump, guess who we see in a short cameo in this film?
Yep, he walks past Kevin and then checks him out as he walks away.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of hair in that shot, too.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he still does. I mean, come on.
Yeah, right.
So this movie, obviously, all the same beats as the first one. Another person that Kevin believes to be insane. Oh no, they're really nice. In this case, Academy Award winner
Brenda Fricker.
who from My Left Foot, who's a crazy pigeon lady in this.
And also the mum in So I Married an Ex-Murderer.
Yes.
Where she does a fucking terrible Scottish accent.
She's also in Masterminds with Patrick Stewart.
A Home Alone ripoff.
Yeah, from the director of
Wait,
Battlefield
so, like,
Earth.
Patrick Stewart's parents leave him at home alone and he has to fight off robbers.
It's like Die Hard in a middle school.
With Patrick Stewart in the Bruce Willis role.
I just imagine like
No,
Patrick
in the
Stewart...
Alan Rickman role.
I know.
Okay.
And this pigeon lady lives on top of Carnegie Hall.
Yes. Okay, but listen, for about 90 minutes, I was bored stiff of this movie. I hated it. I wanted it to be over. Then Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern
Back as the Wet Bandit.
back as the Wet Bandits start getting hit with paint cans and bricks and stuff. And, I think as we were going into this movie, you and I agreed that the Home Alone movies, the violence was too real. It was too unpleasant. And in the first bit when Macaulay Culkin is throwing bricks at Daniel Stern, I found it intensely unpleasant.
Wait, Emily's shaking her head. What, you find it hilarious?
It's just so unrealistic, and it's just I've seen too many horror movies now to know that can't possibly happen. You can't walk away from that.
Well, yeah.
But it's played real, too.
Well, the thing is, like, the mark it leaves on Daniel Stern's head looks really real.
But it looks like a tiny little scrape, as though he, like, brushed his head with a brick.
But that's the thing. It's like, obviously, if he threw a brick from that distance, Daniel Stern would be dead. But instead of doing that, he's replaced it with what looks like violence or pain that we're all familiar with. Like, if we, like,
hit our head,
that's what it would look like. And so you look at it, it's like, oh, that hurts.
But as it went along, me and Will, it won us over.
We started laughing so hard at some of the shenanigans. What can I say? And, Matthew here sat stone-faced through it all. But,
and as he was talking about it and the realism of the violence, he said something very clear that he'll never like Home Alone or anything like it, and that's because...
Oh, it's because I don't like the Three Stooges either. Like, I can watch any number of Three Stooges shorts completely passionless.
We've given him the best. Yes. A plumbing we will go.
Yeah, and I watch it and I go, what is good about this? And it's the same deal. Watching people just get hurt repeatedly is just not funny to me. And, like, there are lots... I mean, we say that it's realistic but not realistic, right?
Yeah.
It's that weird
It's too realistic,
It's that weird middle ground. But when you see them, like, slam on the ground, when they fall so... Like, the thing with the paint cans, and then they hit them with that...
big, like, banister.
Big banister thing, and then he lands on them. Like, it's unpleasant to me, you
but
know?
I actually think on this viewing, it was that unpleasantness that made me laugh.
Yeah. I mean,
it was so real that it was like really kind of, it was cartoonish, but it was also just real enough to be really awkward and painful.
The thing is, I don't really so there's clearly something in my brain, right?
Yeah.
Where I find some things funny and some things not, right?
I like to imagine that Matthew as a child, like, one day his brother did a bunch of Home Alone traps on him.
No, because it's like, I was thinking, like, for an example, is that often in the cinema, you know this.
Yeah.
Something will happen that no one else in the cinema finds funny.
And
I think it's hilarious. And it would be like...
You know what's funny about that is that we watched a film that has a massive slapstick sequence in it, and you were laughing your ass off. And that was Shane Black's The Nice Guys. Because the climax of that film is just Ryan Gosling being beat up and thrown around.
Yeah,
and I don't think I've ever heard you laugh harder than that.
That is a funny part. But I'm thinking of things like something can be so disturbing or so horrible that I find it really funny. Like, there's this sequence in Under the Skin where that baby is left at the beach to die, and I was in the Princess of Wales Theatre at TIFF with 2,000 people around me, and I just was laughing at it because it was so hilariously horrible. Whereas, like, this is type of like hilariously horrible that I just can't gel with. So I don't have any excuses.
When you were younger, did you ever watch America's Funniest Home Videos?
No, there's You've Been Framed, which was the British equivalent of it.
Because there's so much like dick punching horror sadness in that, but everyone laughs every time, including me, and I feel like that's why I laugh so hard at this kind of really like exaggerated beating up comedy.
I never thought of that kind of link to slapstick of American Home Videos, which is base slapstick that is laughing for you and telling you like that it is funny, that it has a laugh track.
Well,
I always laughed at that.
Yeah, I think the videos speak for themselves, frankly. Like if there's a guy, who's like, hey, watch me skateboard down this banister, and he's super cocky, and then he does it, and then he falls on his ass.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, for example, like America's Funniest Home Videos or You've Been Framed, it always felt like dads or something setting something up and their child would fall over and hurt. I never found that funny. But there's that Japanese show, Takeshi's Castle, which was like 100 people all try and do something. It'd always be like run across stones that would be slippy and would fall over. And I thought I honestly still think it's one of the greatest shows on television ever. It's like super funny. And it's kind of because like those people have put themselves in a situation, you know. And
so do you feel sympathy for the wet bandits, I guess?
No,
I think
because they want to kill
it's for me,
Kevin. They pull a gun on him at the end and they're going to shoot him.
For me, it's the same thing as, you know when you watch the Roadrunner cartoons?
Yeah.
And you sort of, I mean, maybe it's just me, you sort of fantasize about the Wile E. Coyote catching that runner and fucking ripping it to fucking shreds.
Yeah.
Or like when Jerry's being a pure dick to Tom and you're like, I can't wait to fucking watch Tom just fucking chomp fucking jelly's fucking head right off and spit it in a fucking
So you
bin.
think that it's the arrogance of someone like Kevin
It's the
McAllister?
arrogance. Kevin McAllister, if that wee guy, if they'd shot his face off right at the end, and you see he's like the bullet wound and the blood pouring out his face and everything, I'd have been like, good.
Which is funny.
As I say, if this movie was called Home Alone 2, they'd kill a child. I'd have been like, yes.
Kevin is very arrogant for most of the movie,
fuck
I
him.
think.
Yeah, he is.
Charging $1,000 of room service onto his dad's credit card.
As we've established, he has everything he could ever want.
He lives in a giant house, crazy
right?
attic bedroom.
And his family sort of ignored him a bit, you know?
Yeah.
So, and these guys have had nothing. They've had to fight their way up from
Probably
nothing.
some mental health issues.
Mental health
you know?
issues, do you know what I mean? Like, their
Yeah.
parents probably didn't love them, so they've turned to crime, you know?
And like Kevin McAllister sets it up so these traps will not actually stop them. It'll just hurt them and not kill them. At one point, like a trap smashes against them and he hears them moan in pain and he goes, yes!
Yeah.
I assume only because he knows they're still alive and he can do more stuff to them.
Yeah, he was planning to like strap them to a chair and like slowly cut off each finger and
yeah,
make
he's
them eat
like
it.
it's like he's like Jared Butler at the beginning of Law Abiding Citizen, where he's caught his prey and he's just slowly murdering them. It's not. I mean, in Jared Butler, I'm on his side, right? Because there's a reason. For him doing
And Kevin shares Gerard Butler's like kind of like Law and Order politics.
Actually, do you know, that should be it. The true crossover.
Yeah.
Law Abiding Citizen versus Home Alone.
Well, possibly Law Abiding Citizen, like you could imagine it as being like the actual like the real third entry in the series with Kevin all grown up.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, the Home Alone movies is like the children of capitalism versus the working class.
Oh,
That's
Michael
exactly
and
what it
us.
Yeah, trying to make their way up.
Nice.
I mean, they're wrong in the way that they're doing it. All the wet bandits wanted to do at the end of the day is just rob some stuff, right?
Well, they were stealing from the store, and that money was going to go to a children's hospital.
I'm thinking mostly of the first one, where they were just robbing stuff from people's houses. Yeah. And in the process...
I mean, the only thing they did that was really wrong was leaving the taps on, because that's a dick move.
It is a dick move.
Yeah.
Well, they changed, though. They're the sticky bandits in
That's
Home
right.
Alone
In the Home
2.
Alone 2, they're the sticky
And they
bandits.
steal from Santas on the street.
But as I pointed out, this is the Bill Clinton era of the United States, and people get stuff stolen, they're like, meh, it's okay, I'll buy another one.
Anyway,
Great movie.
yeah, you know,
It's a bad movie.
I say fast forward to the last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I say fast forward all the way through and just watch Scrooged again.
Or Jingle All the
Jingle
Way.
All the Way.
Or Jingle All The Way. Really, if there's anything on this podcast, it's to watch Scrooged and then Jingle All The Way. That's a good double bill.
And then, you know, if you hate yourself, Ernest Saves Christmas, you know?
Well, like, I mean, that's like, Ernest Saves Christmas is like the Christmas day where you're like standing on a stool with a noose around your neck
And you want a little bit of encouragement to
to
you
just
know,
kick the stool away.
Oh, we pointed out that
Could you imagine being discovered with like Ernest Saves Christmas playing on the TV?
You know, it's like kind of like being...
and the police officers are like, oh, I like this movie. They like sit down and watch it. No, it's not as good as I
No,
remember.
it's like the end of Penn and Teller Get Killed, where like the police come in and they see Ernest Saves Christmas start shooting themselves with guns.
Oh, man.
Okay, so I hope that we have a good list of Christmas movies there that you can watch.
It's a terrible list.
Ernest Saves Christmas is a good movie to put on if you want to like clear a party that you're having.
Yeah, if you want to clear your bowels.
Wait, didn't we put on the Ernest Halloween movie when we wanted people to leave a few years ago?
And nobody left. Everybody sat down and watched it.
Yeah.
Like 7 people.
Why?
All the way to the end.
Why?
Do we have any letters this week?
No, we do have a few letters, and we're going to save them for next week's episode. You can send them at Loose Cannons Podcast.
Not Loose Cannons Podcast, you fucking bastard.
At Important Cinema Club Podcast at gmail.com.
Well,
You better not say the words loose cannons in this space ever again.
what?
We just did a Loose Cannons Christmas special for the film I Come in Peace. Check it out now.
Check it out. I was gonna say, like, because we did only recommend 2 good movies there, does anyone else have any Christmas movies they want to
A
recommend?
Loose Cannon
love
tradition.
Elf. I love Mr. Bean's Christmas because my stepdad made us watch it a lot, and we made fun of him a lot for it. The Turkey on the Head is really good.
I really don't know if there's anything I can say that like people don't already know.
Yeah.
Everything's on TV, you know.
I was gonna say actually that a Christmas movie that I only saw the first time last year that I really loved, and I was surprised how much I liked it, was Arthur Christmas.
Oh, it's great.
The Aardman animation, because I feel like it's just been overlooked a little bit, but it's a super touching film about like Santa's like lesser loved son and how he proves himself, but it's very moving at the end. I was truly surprised by how much I liked it.
If you want to watch a Christmas movie that's jam-packed full of Christmas, but isn't really one, Long Kiss Goodnight. The forgotten Shane Black action film.
That is delicious.
So much Christmas. Carolers, snow, skating. It's all there.
what's the one that we were crying at last year? It was Christmas with the Cranks. We were decorating the
great
tree,
film.
and then we just got sucked in. And I never thought that I would like Christmas with the Cranks.
There
but,
is no evidence of this.
We just sat there and we were
No,
crying.
no.
We're like,
so,
oh no,
so that's
this is
that's
my
the
whole
film
heart.
for the record where
Tim Allen,
and Jamie Lee Curtis decide let's not do Christmas
the
this
richest
year.
people in the world.
And their horrible neighbors say, no, conform, and then they say, you know what, we're gonna conform.
Yeah.
Another film by Chris Columbus.
Yeah, but it had a nice
No,
ending.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Or he might have written it.
Okay.
He was involved somehow in it.
It was nice. They
I was really.
I won't spoil it, but it was nice because they did something nice for their neighbors, not the mean ones.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, we won't spoil. You're gonna have to watch
will
Christmas
spoil
with the
Christmas.
Cranks.
Okay, at the end of this podcast, the Important Cinema Club, the listeners end up watching Christmas with the Cranks.
And they're like, you know what? Maybe Deck the Halls is better. Let's put that one on. The film famous for a drunken Danny DeVito on The View,
Yes.
spoiling the entire movie.
Yeah, the funny thing about that interview was when Danny DeVito mentioned that he had slept in the Lincoln bedroom with his wife Rhea Perlman, and he said, "We made use of every surface."
Ew.
So just imagine.
I didn't know they were married. I've been watching a lot of Cheers. That's
You
You didn't know they're married?
No, I don't pay attention.
Oh, they're
They broke up, didn't they?
No, they got back together. I'm
that's
I'm
nice.
happy to
Listen,
say.
you
Good
can't
for them.
you can't say no to that DeVito.
Yeah.
Like-
The DeVito-D? Oof. She can't get enough of that.
So we're actually going to have an episode that's going to drop on Christmas, and it's a very special episode that me and Will won't spoil.
I've been wanting to do it for the entire. It was one of my first ideas for an episode for the podcast, and he vetoed me until now.
And you will be shocked when you hear what it is.
Yeah.
But it will not be that much of a surprise, really.
Yeah.
So don't forget to tune in until then. And thank you very much for everybody that participated in this, even though it's like 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, God.
Because
Right.
Home Alone 2 was 2 hours long. So I'm Justin the Clue.
Emily Milling.
Will Sloan.
Matthew Kumar.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, don't forget me, Santa Claus. I didn't get to talk at all, children. You've been very naughty.
Oh my god.
Whoa! Santa, put down that paddle.
Oh, S&M Santa.
Also, sign up for things.
Oh, at filmtrap.com. Go to the Filmtrap article for this episode, and there'll be a list of Christmas films that we did not mention.
What's
Follow us.
filmtrap.com?
Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Everybody else has gone to sleep to make sure that Santa can deliver his presents without being interrupted. But I just wanted to remind you that if you want more Christmas cheer, this week's Patreon episode is about Christmas movie turkeys. Me, Will, and Mathew Kumar talk about such opuses as Santa Claus vs. the Martian, Santa Claus, the Mexican film where he fights the devil, and maybe Will and Matthew get into a fight about one of the most ridiculous holiday-related things. You won't know unless you join our Patreon. It's $5 a month, and you get a new episode every week of the Important Cinema Club that is exclusive to Patreon subscribers. And if you do pay that $5, not only will you get every episode in the future, as long as you keep paying, but you also get our back catalog that at this point is 30 plus episodes. So please subscribe now at patreon.com/theimportantcinemaclub and have yourself a Merry Christmas and very happy holidays.